Welcome to part 4 of Juke Joints and Jesus, the Juke Joint.
Run, Charlie, run. Whoa! Yes. You look at me, you look at a man that was born for hard luck. I was born on the take Kingstree, a hard day on Friday, and a bad luck day. Show you that I is in hard luck. If I go up the street walking fast, I run over something. I'm in such hard luck. If I go up there walking slow, something run over me. I'm in such hard luck if I'm sitting down, I'm in everybody's way. I'm in such hard luck if it's raining down soup at this very minute. Everybody be standing there with a spoon, well, I'd have a fork.
Everybody in the spot either knows somebody there, somebody knows somebody. It's like a family environment. Juke joints are kind of exclusive. Like you have to know, you have to know about the spot to go to the spot.
Between the church and the Juke Joint was the social club and society hall. As long as there was a free black population of any size, it was not unusual for members of that population to find each other and work towards organizing and socializing. Journalist Janita Poe wrote, "The roots of black social clubs are traced to the black burial societies such as the Elks, the Masons, and the Knights of Pythias that were established shortly after the Civil War. The societies helped families raise money for burial plots, but they soon became social as well." According to Emery Campbell, author of Gullah Cultural Heritage, Gullah people had established places for entertainment since the late 1800s. Societies provided essential charitable service and financial aid to members in times of hardship, sickness, and death. While formal meetings were held, socializing and fundraising activities occurred as well. Activities such as card games, dinners, and dances with live music. In Charleston, one of the most well-known social clubs still in existence is the Owl's Whist Club on James Island, known as The Roost, which was founded by 16 African-American men in 1914. The purpose of the club was to provide the men an opportunity to play cards, socialize, and discuss social issues safely. Because of the restrictions of the time, meetings were held at members' homes and larger functions held at establishments that could be rented out. Eventually, the members bought property and had a building constructed for the club in cash in 1947. Like the Juke Joint, society halls had their own methods of operating outside the constraints of Jim Crow laws.
A lot of people got their money from moonshine. I mean, I'm not going to hide that history because a lot of white people started off with moonshine. The younger guys, they made that moonshine and they sold it downtown. Someone took run the moonshine all the way up to New York City.
Wow.
And they made the money. And instead of they spend the money, they invest the money into the business.
We moved into the house and my dad built a shop. The house was really facing what later became Gates Street, but the shop faced Thorn Avenue. And on the other side of Gate Street was Mae Dickey's place. My parents were real strict. I didn't get to go anywhere or do anything. I just worked in our quote-unquote juke joint. The juke joint, it was called David's Place.
Okay.
At the track, David's Place.
We had wood heaters and stoves and stuff like that. So I grew up cutting wood, running the shop, and Daddy did all of this. And he maintained. From the shop I learned to fry chicken, make hot dogs and chili, make hamburgers, dressing with meat with bread and eggs. I learned how to shoot pool. I learned how to drink country club malt liquor. We had a piano in the shop. I learned to fiddle around the piano in the shop. For recreation, I had roller skates. We would roller skate at the shop. It was big enough for us to roller skate. I learned to roller skate at the shop.
We had to build this building. You know, Mr. Ben Gamble.
Right.
Well, he built this building for
Right.
us. And then after we get it built and we get started, we had our sell sandwiches and stuff like that.
Ice cream.
Ice cream. We had some of every little thing.
Hand
Yeah.
Really? It was right there.
There are places all over. Right? It's almost like for every church there was a juke joint. They were right next door. Dickie and David's place. But I remember May's place. I mean, it was just a huge place, big 2-story building, and I kind of understand that. I think they had like hotel rooms, so it was convenient for people who wanted to hang out up the track because you could come to David's place and sit there and talk and play shoot pool and do stuff, and you go over to Dicky's place and you can talk and do whatever else people are doing over there.
In her 1934 essay, The Characteristics of Negro Expression, Zora Neale Hurston defined the juke joint, or juke, as a Negro pleasure house. It may mean a bawdy house. It may mean the house set apart on public works, where the men and women dance, drink, and gamble. Often, it is a combination of all these. Musically speaking, the juke is the most important place in America, for in its smelly, shoddy confines has been born the secular music known as blues, and on blues has been founded jazz.
The shop was jumping. Every weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, we had the jukebox in there, and we played music all night. I listened to music all night, all weekend long. And I guess I heard it.
You're typically gonna have, a lot of blues, then incorporated with, what I call new style music. But very little would you hear rap music played in a juke joint. Right. It's very uncommon. You're gonna have fans, in the windows. You're gonna have a piccolo.
The juke joint arose simultaneously across the rural South, partly because of the popularity of the jukebox, or piccolo, as it is referred to south of the Mason-Dixon. Piccolo was the name brand of a jukebox by Ariello Piccolo, manufactured by the German company Craig. And even if the jukebox wasn't a piccolo, the name stuck. The jukebox was a coin-operated music-playing machine, which allowed people the freedom to choose the music they would listen to and not have to wait for it to be played on a radio station. That is, if local radio stations even played the music they wanted to hear, i.e. race music, such as the blues.
We had a jukebox, also called piccolo. This group would come once a week, get the monies out of piccolo, give us our 50%, and change out the 45s. And so for a while, I was collecting all these 45s, and I have 45s all over the place. But because even as a youngster, I saved everything. Right. But anyway, we would get whatever new songs were coming out. And I think it was 3/4 quarter, seems like at that time, to play the piccolo. And we would have an influx of young people, coming to dance.
Even with the introduction of the piccolo into jukes, live musicians were often a major part of the draw. When the world thinks about juke joints, it thinks about the Mississippi Delta, Clarksdale, Marigold, Shelby. They think of the birthplace of the blues, and rightfully so. But to end in Mississippi would be a disservice. To believe that juke joints can only be juke joints if the music is live would also be an oversimplification. The juke joint, as African American vernacular architecture, sprung up simultaneously across the South, and its descendant, or younger sibling, the pool hall and speakeasy, traveled north during the Great Migration.
They sell whiskey. They call it whiskey house. People sell the moonshine. They didn't go to the liquor store. That's what everybody had, still and moonshine. And you could go to somebody's house and get drunk, and they would take care of you. Right. But that's called speakeasy. But the club, you join and stuff open on the weekend, on the Friday night and Saturday, and holidays. Some of them had stores that you got. Some had one area, stores in the other area, juke joints.
We had, I remember the big open space. There were booths and tables. If you're standing with your back to the back door, there were booths and tables on the left side, a big open dance floor in the middle, and And to the right were, I think, 3 private rooms that if people wanted to come in and just socialize personally among themselves, they could rent the room supposedly. Then the kitchen was to the back of that. And to eat, in the kitchen, our menu included hot dogs with chili, with chili, fried pork chop sandwiches, fried chicken sandwiches, and hamburgers. I think were our main dishes.
This fish is going to be on deck. And definitely when you get your fish, you're going to let the grease drip on your bread.
Right.
Yeah, so you're going to smell like cigarette when you leave, and you know what I mean? You're going to smell like fish grease. But it's all good.
Right.
Like that familiar scent, it stays in your nose forever. Like when you have been in a true juke joint.
Right.
The operators of juke joints often could not easily obtain loans or licenses to operate commercial kitchens or sell alcohol. That, however, did not dampen their entrepreneurial spirit. Steaming hot fried chicken and fish plates were still sold, and liquor and cold beer were still poured.
And anything Apple wanted, Apple get. We'd have a county police park down here. His car used to be parked there. A guy named Flip, county policeman. His car used to be parked right there. Anything Apple wanted, Apple get. Apple had so much connection. And they know what Apple was doing.
He had other investments as well. That was his uncle.
Right.
And I, and many people refer to him as an entrepreneur. He really was a man of great vision. He owned a grocery store. He built the first oyster house where he employed people. And then, he set his eyes on the factory, which is this area. And he built the pavilion, which reached out into a larger community.
These businesses were built with sweat equity and cash, and played an important part not only in the social life of the community, but also in the care of the community, sometimes taking the role society halls and social clubs once played.
But like I said, this was a good community. Back then, it was good now, but black folks were close together. That's what it was about. They look up for one another.
Right.
They would go in there, they would have misunderstanding, but they would never let it stop them from communicating with one another. Right. I've seen them argue and fist fight in the morning and so the sun go down their back. That's what the old man always tell me, don't let the sun go down mad with nobody. Because if you die, you're going to hell. That's what they tell me. If you die when you're angry or hate, you're going to hell. And I believe in that Bible. What goes around, that's why the Bible says you pray for people that mistreat you. And you don't get rid of nothing. That's why I don't worry about what's going on in the world. And this is what we need to do. We need to stick together.
In Black communities, the space, literal and figurative, between the secular and the sacred were never too distant. The spirit needs the flesh, the body, the soul. And so to consider the religious and profane together is not too far-fetched an idea.
When Davis Place first opened, there was a small tin building right there at the corner that was where the nuns had held religious lessons for us on Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons. Yeah, I became a teenager. You no longer went to the tin building at the corner there. They built a new building further down Thorn Avenue, so we would go on Thursday nights. So we would have our religious lessons. But we'd push the chairs back against the wall, we'd turn the music, we danced. The Catholic lessons were Thursday night was, so the juke joint was Friday, Saturday, Sunday night.
Right.
Kind of thing. So for me, it just kind of all meshed into one. So when I hear people, some preachers make it sound like, oh, to go to the juke joint is so sinful, or to dance, I wouldn't think the nuns would have us dancing after religious lessons if it was sinful to do so.
Those who owned juke joints were often respected members of the community. They went to church on Sundays, held leadership positions, and sent their children to college if that's what their children desired. Very few saw hypocrisy in these two parts of juke proprietors' lives. And why would they? For in the juke, there were rules, customs, ceremony that could almost be considered sacrosanct.
You know what you come for and behave accordingly.
The contemporary juke joint has held true to the traditions of its predecessors, an almost cult-like discretion, down-home soul food, solo cups of alcohol, the latest music, and community. They may or may not operate extra legally. But what does it matter? They still serve as sites where insiders, that is, those in the know, can come together in secular fellowship in an almost sacred way. Thank you for joining us on Cinder Seeking Juke Joints in Jesus. See the website cinderseeking.com for more resources.